Hi everyone and welcome here to my channel. My name is Fabiana and in today's tutorial I'll be making this sweater. It's a pattern that I know that a lot of people are waiting for a very long time. It's a sweater for men, beautiful earth colors for a man. And as you can see, it's much wider than a sweater, the woman sweater that I keep making on my channel. I have, as you know, I have a lot of sweaters as well here in my channel. If you wanna have a look for a woman sweater, there's many of them you can choose from. But this is the first one that I'm making for a man. And because of that, I made the construction a little different so I could make in my pattern, the links down in the description below. So in the pattern I made all the way from extra small all the way to XXL. Because of this type of construction, you can even make probably an XXL, 3XLs. And so the way I made it is one panel for here, one panel in the middle, and one panel on the side. The sleeves are made on a Sentro 48. I do recommend the Sentro 48 for this sweater because you need wider sleeves for men, okay? If you're making an XL or a double XL, I recommend maybe trying a beanie that you made on your on your husband's arms first, and then see if it fits. If it doesn't fit, fits too tight, just make two panels and then seam in the middle, join in the middle to turn them in a tube before you make the little cuffs, okay? So for this pattern, I'm making it all knitted with using circular knitting needles. But if you purchase the pattern, I explain as well how to make the crochet ribbing in the pattern, okay? The pattern has all the sizes from extra small all the way to XXL calculated for you guys, so you don't need to calculate the number of stitches for the pattern. One more thing that I wanted to say, if you get the pattern, there's a drawing in the pattern that shows every size and every measurement of every size. So what I recommend you to do is just get a garment that fits and then measure the garment, measure the sleeves, the length and the width, and then compare to the sizes that I gave in the pattern, and just make a little mark, and then you can, you know, use the length of one and the width of the other one depending of the sizes you got on your pattern, okay? That's a recommendation that I make for every single pattern, really. Just compare and see the width and the length that you want, because you might want a little more length and then you just make it longer, you know what I mean? So that's my recommendation for this pattern. So let's do it. So to make this round neck sweater for men, what I'm going to use is my Sentro 48. I like to use the Sentro 48 for men clothes, especially because it makes a wider sleeve, okay? If you are thinking of using your RG46, it might be that on the large size and the medium size, the sleeve is a little too fit. It's not going to be wide enough. So that's why I like to be using the Sentro 48 for this case. I'm going to be using worsted weight yarn. It's a size 4 8-ply yarn. This is very similar to the Caron Soft. It has 193 grams. I'm going to be using 2 of these ones on the main color that's gonna be on the bottom of the sweater. And then I'm going to be using 2 balls of this one that's gonna be on the top of the sweater, which is more 200 grams because this 100 grams ball. They're all the same weight, they're just different types of yarn. And for this one, which is the one that has only a stripe in the middle, I'm going to be using only 100 grams of this. So if you are making a solid color, you're gonna use 400, 600, around 700 grams for a size medium, okay? Each size up, probably 100 grams extra of this, but you can still make the large and extra large with 2 of these big balls here on the main collar, okay, if that's what you're making. You would probably need 3 of these ones for any other size. But I left the pattern down in the description below. If you want to purchase the pattern, that's where I calculate all the sizes and differences on width and length for all the other sizes. So it's important to get that if you don't want to calculate for yourself at home, okay? I'm going to, in this situation here, I'm going to be knitting the bottom ribbing and the collar ribbing as well. So I'm going to be using a 5.5 millimeters needle, and this one's interchangeable, so I have that kit with all needles and all types of wires, so I'll be attaching a bigger wire to make the bottom ribbing, okay? It's really handy to have the kits. I'm going to leave the link down in the description below if you want to get a similar kit to this one. If you wanna crochet, just use a 4 millimeters crochet hook, okay? You can be making crochet as well, and it's indicated in the pattern, the ribbing that I'm going to use for crochet, if that's what you know how to do, okay? Some people like more knitting, some people more crochet. In this situation here, because I want a better looking for my sweater, and I think the knitted ribbing just looks much better, I'm going to be knitting the ribbing, okay? Gauge calculator, so you can see the gauge. If your gauge is the same as mine, that's the way you do it, where the little V's are going this way, you count the number that fit of V's that fit inside the gauge, and the number this way. Mine is 20 by 14 stitches, okay? So you should have, if you have something similar to that, you're gonna pretty much get the same size that I'm getting here. It's just be aware that I'm going to be using my hands and my fingers for the tension, so if you do that as well, you're gonna get the same tension that I did. I'm using this row counter here because it's a lot of rows to count, so it's really handy to have as well. Another thing to consider is that I glue my machine with double-sided Velcro, as you can see here, the pieces of Velcro. These ones I use for my Sentro 40 and for my Sentro 22 actually. This for the Sentro 40, there's more Velcro here. So what I do is just I remove the machine if I have to, and then I just use another one. This is really useful, it really makes the machine super stable. And then I just clamp with these normal clamps to the table after when I'm working. This is super handy to make. It works really well for this type of work that you have to go back and forth because you're making a panel. So I recommend you guys using that. So that being said, let's start this project. I'm going to explain step by step. And so before you start the project, make sure you measure the arms have to be measured from the armpit to the wrist. And mine was 52 centimeters for this pattern here. And then you need to measure the length. My length that I'm going to get at the end of the project with the ribbon included is gonna be 62 centimeters, and the width of my sweater is going to be 58 centimeters. So if you want more, just increase the number of stitches and rows according to the size that you want, or just grab the patterns. All calculated that for you guys. The pattern links in the description below. So let's start with this. As always, I made a drawing here, okay? These are the sleeves here, and I decided to make this sweater in 3 different panels, okay? It's actually 4 because there's an extra one here for the back. So this panel goes all the way to the back, and this one goes all the way to the back, so you don't have to seam the shoulders on the top, which is really helpful if you don't like that much seaming. It makes your life easier. And then here I'm going to have a little shorter panel that's gonna allow for the space for the neck on the top, okay? This as well, this is gonna change the panel width. It's gonna change depending on the size you are making, because you need more head space, okay? For this one, I'm going to be using 23 stitches and 114 rows for both panels, for the front and the back. They're gonna be right in the middle, and they're gonna be seamed with the 2 panels along the side. So this panel that I'm going to show you now is one of the side panels. It's gonna have double the length. So I'm using 29 stitches and 240 rows total, okay? And then the division of the colors you make as you prefer, but they have to match, which means that every time you reach this number of rows here, you have to change, and you have to have the same number. That's why I make a drawing always, so I know how many rows that I used for each one of the colors, okay? And that makes it easier to just control and have the whole thing matching, because when you make the mattress stitch, you need them to, you know, just have the same number of rows, otherwise it's not, the stripes are not gonna match at the end, okay? Show you how to cast on for a panel and how to make a few rows for you guys to know. But if you don't know how to make a panel, I have a really good video about panels that I'm going to be leaving the link down in the description below, so you can learn to make panels before you make this sweater, okay? So start on needle 1. I always have the bottom here on the tube mold, even though I'm making a panel, so I can start on needle 1, okay? And then cast on, just like you would cast on for a beanie, but 29 stitches only. There was 29 right there. Put the thread underneath this piece here and inside the guide, so when you come back, it's gonna make a loop around this first needle and allow for you to make the stitch. Again, underneath here, and make your way back for 3 rows. Put this stitch, every time you get to an edge and the stitch is up high, just put it down before you make the stitch, otherwise you're gonna drop it, okay? Again, further 1, make your way back, and this is the last row for the waist yarn. Okay, this yarn is going to be removed after when you are making the bottom ribbing. Put it down there, and then let's start with the gray color. Put your counter back to 0 here. We only want to count the rows that we are making with the colors, not the waist yarn rows, okay? And then put your yarn in front of the first needle and leave a very long tail so you can seam all that 200 rows with the mattress stitch later. And now just with your hands, just grab the yarn this way that I do, just like I'm doing here. and then pull it tight and make the first row. And then, as you can see here, I'm pulling with my finger. It's important to pull a little always, because otherwise your edges are gonna be very loose, okay? And pull a little, and then I'll be making 54 rows with this color of yarn. Then I'm going to be changing to this one, making 20 for this one, and then I'm going to be making 92 for this one, back 20 for this one, and then an extra 54 for this one. This is gonna be the very long panel for the sides. We are going to be making two exactly the same. And then this one in the middle will have less rows, as I said before. I'm gonna put a drawing for you guys to follow. Keep making that rows until you have a total of 240 rows for both side panels, okay? And put the stitch down, make the stitch, then make your way back. As I'm gonna clamp this table now and keep making my rows, 240 total, just to show you the sleeves, how I did. So I started the sleeves are made exactly like a beanie. I started them with 4 rows using waste yarn, and then I made 106 rows for this case. Changed the color, almost the same number of rows for each color here. And then I cast off with waste yarn as well, different color, because I'm going to be making a little ribbing here that I'm going to be explaining for you guys. But that's the ribbing I'll be making. As you can see, I'll be decreasing stitches, so I'm going to explain this later. But the sleeves are a tube with 106 rows, so you guys know you have to make 2 of them, okay? So keep making this. I'll come back with you just to put all the pieces together and explain how we will assemble this sweater for men. Just before you finish, you are making a solid color, of course, and I actually recommend making a solid color first, just to try and see if the size is right and everything before cutting all these stripes. And so this is a way you can measure, as you can see. That's what I wanted, around 120 centimeters or 47.5 inches, which is double of the size of the length of your sweater, because this is gonna fold. Remember, it's gonna be around the shoulders, and then we're going to fold just like this, and also add a ribbing on the bottom after that. So it's gonna be a little more than 60 centimeters for each one of the sides. And now I'm going to cast off from the machine. I'm going to be making, after the last row, just make a full row without the yarn. Again, I cut a very long tail here, so I can use for seaming later. And then with a contrasting color and your tapestry needle, I really like this one that comes with the Adi knitting machine. It's a great tapestry needle because it has this tip just like that. And then just remove all the stitches of the needles. Make sure you place your finger right on top of it so the next one doesn't come off when you're doing this. And you can do one by one as well if you prefer this way and it's easier for you. Once you get used to do this, you can just make like I'm doing now. So this is our very long panel. Make sure you make all the panels now and the sleeves as well. One thing I forgot to say is that for the sleeves, I started the sleeves on the opposite side just to have this type of, just to have this yarn here at the end and to make it easier to make the ribbing after. So start from the top to the bottom of each sleeve, okay? Now the next thing that I'm going to do is the ribbing of the sleeves. Now for this sweater here, and this is explained in the pattern, if you are making XL and XXL and you need a wider sleeve, what you have to do is make 2 panels and then join them together with the mattress stitch that I'm going to be showing you soon. This, as you know, this one has 48 stitches, so if making an XL or XXL, make sure the combination of both panels is more than 48 stitches. Let's say you need 60 stitches, so you make 2 panels of 30 stitches and then join them together as a tube on both sides with the mattress stitch before you do this next step here, now that we are making, which is the ribbing, okay? Now for the ribbing I have a large option of wires, and that's why I like these kits, because they come with all the needle sizes and as well all the wire sizes. You can use them as straight needles as well. The links down in the description below for a very similar kit to this one. They're very cheap as well. It's worth having them. Now I'm going to slide all the stitches through this needle here, and if you are making crochet you don't really need to do this part here, but on knitting you have to put all the stitches through the needles first, and they have to be circular knitting needles. I'm using the 5.5 millimeters, but if you want a smaller ribbing, you can even use a 4.5 millimeters needle or even a 5 millimeters. So put them all through, and then I'll come back with you to show you the first ribbing row that I'm going to be making. After you remove the sleeves of the machine, if you want to just keep the yarn and make the ribbing with the same color, you can as well. I was just showing you guys, and that's why I cut this. That's why, yeah, I was just showing you guys, and that's why I cut this. So now I'm going to remove this waste yarn here. And then I'm going to cut this one here, because I was thinking I was gonna do this color, but I decided for the other color. Just cut it, put this one. If that's what you're gonna do, if you're gonna do the same solid color, you can just keep that one. And then I'm making here a Russian knot. Russian knots, they don't open. So we make a little knot on this one side. Make it go all the way really close, and then make the same knot on the other end. And then pull them through. It will never open this knot. It's a really good knot to know. Now we need to decrease stitches for this cuff, because otherwise it would be just a straight sleeve. And to do that, what I'm going to do is knit one. I'm going to knit them all, but knit one first. In this first row, I'm going to knit them all, okay? Just in order to decrease the number of stitches. So knit one first, and then knit 2 together. Just grab 2 stitches together this way, and knit. And then the one only, and then 2 again. And repeat this throughout the pattern. 1, 2. Now, if you're making crochet, make sure you bind off the stitches with a slip stitch in the first row. So slip stitch in the first row. Second row, you're gonna make 1 double crochet and then 2 double crochets together. 1 double crochet and then 2 double crochets together. You should finish with 32 stitches for the cuff of the sleeves, okay? And if you're making any other side, if you made panels before as well, just make sure you decrease the same way. So I'm going to decrease all around, and then I'll come back with you to show you the ribbing, the first row of ribbing, and it's gonna be all the same throughout the rows. And then finishing this row, I have 32 stitches. This should be good for small and extra small sizes as well. So I finished here. I have now 32 stitches, and this should be good for a small size and an extra small as well. And now what I'm going to do is I'm going to place a marker first to know where you started the row, and then knit one stitch and purl the next one. Knit. For that, you need to have an even number of stitches, so 32, 34, 38, because it's a 1 by 1 ribbing, okay? And then purl and knit. Purl and knit. This wire is probably too big for this, but now I don't want to change it anymore. Now this is the purl stitch. You can see it's a loop on the front. This is a knitted stitch, is the same as the V we had before. When you come back on the next row where you have the purl, you're gonna purl. Where you have the knit, you're gonna knit to keep continuing with the pattern of the stitch. It's a very simple stitch to make. It's very nice for finishing, sweater finishings. And if you want to crochet, there's other videos of mine where I share how to crochet the ribbings. You can do that too. And it's also in the pattern how to make the crochet ribbing. So I'm going to finish this row here. I'll come back with you on the second, I'll come back with you on the last row just to show you how it is and how to show you how to bind off this type of work as well. And then when you reach the point where you started, I made 2, 4, 5, 6 rows with this one, and now I'm going to show you how to bind off. I'm going to knit all the stitches in this row here. So knit 1, knit 2, and then pull the first one on top of the second one to close it off. Now this part here, make sure you don't make it too tight, otherwise you won't fit the hands through. So to avoid making it too tight, just make a little longer loop here. This first loop has to be a little longer than the second one. And then when you pull through, it's gonna make a wider stitch here. And so keep repeating this all around until you reach the beginning. So keep repeating this. This is how it's looking like. And then I'll come back with you just to show you how to finish this here, this part here. And just make sure it's not tied before you do this. This is our last loop. I'm just gonna put the hook through that first stitch. And then pull through it. And then again. If you better have, there's other ways to do that. I'm just doing this way because that's what I normally do. And then I put here on the back and make an extra knot to make it even on the front. So this is how it looks like. It's fine to me because this is on the underarm as well. It's gonna be facing down. And then put the sleeves aside. We are going to seam the panels side by side now. Now I'm going to place a long panel side by side with a smaller panel, and then I'm going to start seaming these two panels before all the rest. So to do that, what I normally do, I just put the yarn through this waste yarn row here, just to remove it for later. And then I put it through this first stitch again. And then from here, always in the second row here is the easiest row to see, this one here. This is the second stitch, this is the first one. The first one's really hard to work with, so I always choose the second one. And I'm going to start right on the beginning here. These two first middle loops, that's what I use. So it's a 2x2 stitching. So you go through 2 rows at a time. You can make it tied later as well. And then here on the other side, I'm going to work with this row here. So through these two here, through this stitch here, which is the second one as well. And then I normally grab this way. If you don't miss any rows when you get here, you're gonna be at the same point on both sides, okay? So make sure you don't miss any. You can see the stitches coming out of here, so you're gonna put right in this same stitch again, but going up. And then there you go, there's the stitch there. I'm gonna put on the next 2 stitches. And then you're gonna seam all the way to the top until you finish. You can also pull this a little later after making it. When we get here, I'm gonna come back with you just to show you what to do if they are mismatching, just to explain to you. And then seam all the way to the top here. So you got to this point and you realize they're not the same. It's the same for me, but if this one was a little longer than this one, what I would do to catch up is just go through less rows here and more rows here, which means that I just finished there. Just go through 1 row here and then the 2 rows there, and that way you're gonna catch up with the stripes, okay? And if you have to see that a little bit further down. If there's a lot of mismatch, you even have to restart seaming, okay? Another thing is when you finish seaming, make sure this stretches as much as the rest of the work. Just by pulling it, this yarn will go through inside the seaming and will make it a little more stretchy as well. So just make sure that it's as stretchy as the knitted fabric that you are seaming. And there you go. If you started the way that I did, you perfectly aligned now with the other color. Here and here. There we go. And there we go. It's perfectly aligned here. I'm going to keep seaming, and then I'm going to seam the other side here as well. And then I'm going to seam the back with the other panel, seam it all. And then I'm going to show you how to do on the sides here where we're going to have the sleeves after. Now, as you can see, I have it all seamed. Even here on the sides, I already did. So here is the shorter panel that will make the round neck after. And I actually find out that just by making this, you can make a round neck just by making a round crochet collar or a round knitting collar here, and you don't really need to decrease stitches. And that's why I wanted to show you guys this type of sweater, because it's very basic and easy to make even for beginners, okay? If you know how to make a panel, you can make this. You don't need to decrease stitches or increase or anything like that. Now here, this is a medium size and it has a very wide opening. Let me show you here the length of it. Around 23 centimeters or 9 inches here for the head. Now, if you want this opening a little more, a little bigger, just because you need that, all you have to do is make less rows here, and then this will go down and will make a bigger opening, okay? Now, for a medium size, this is completely fine. I'm going to show you how to make the collar soon, but for now, what I did was, and this is very important, guys, you have to try it on, make him try it on first, and then see the width you need for the arm to fit right, okay? Otherwise, this will be too tight for a man. In the pattern, I kind of calculated, so this will be a little longer for the larger sizes, okay? For the smaller sizes will be the same because we'll be making the same width of sleeve, okay? But if you are making an XXL or an XXL and you wanna use 2 panels, I'm going to lower this a little so it fits the sleeve perfectly. As you can see, my sleeve will perfectly fit on this last collar here, which is really cool. And this, guys, if you wanna put this down later, this seaming here is just steam it with a steamer, will sit much more flat. So to seam the sleeves, after I finish the metro stitch here, place the sleeve, and if you're making on a solid collar, just place the sleeve relaxed like this, and then this is the perfect size. Or you try it on, and if he needs a little more width, just stretch the sleeve a little more here, okay? So to start this, I always put the color changes and the first stitch right here facing the bottom. And then I'm going to put this close for you guys to have a look. And also put this, all this yarn is gonna go inside there while you're seaming. So now we have 2 loops, 1 loop here and 1 loop here. And that's where we're gonna put the first stitch. So you always have to grab 2 loops, okay? 1 loop of the stitch you just made, and the next loop from the stitch, the next stitch. And then here you're gonna keep going with the metro stitch in the same stitch you were working just before, okay? And then through the same loop you just made the stitch, and then the next loop after this. And then again, metro stitch on the other side. If you want to place a marker halfway, you can do that too. Just place a marker here so you know you're halfway on both, and they're gonna perfectly catch up on the other side, okay? I'm gonna go ahead and make it all and just come back with you for the last few stitches because they are a little more difficult to finish, just to show you how I do it, because a lot of people ask about sleeves. Now, just by eyesight, I can already tell there's a little more stitches here than here. And so what I'm going to do is I'm going to go through the same number of stitches on this side, but then on this side, what I'm going to do is go through 1 row instead of 2. Sometimes, not always, until I can feel that's almost the same, and then 2 again, and then 2 rows again. And always the same 2 loops here, okay? Here you have to always go for 2 loops, but here you can catch up. You can make 3 sometimes if you need more, and you can make only through 1. I feel that it might be all right now, but that's what you do, okay? You catch up on this side, going through 3 if you have little stitches here, going through only 1 row here if you feel that you have too many stitches to go through here, okay? And then that way you're gonna catch up and get to the end with the same number of with the same space here and on the sleeve, okay? So I'm gonna go through a little more and then I'm gonna show you how I finish this. And then just to show you how to finish the sleeve, put that waste yarn inside the sleeve so it's easier to finish this. As you go, you just flip it over and it goes inside the sleeve. If you need to catch up with a few more stitches, make sure you do here now, going through 1 or 2 rows here. As I said before, I'm going through 1 row only here, just to make sure I'm going to finish the right way here, and then put this under. And then go through the neck space there to finish it off. Then I'll go through 1 more here. This is a good time to actually make it look good. Just do the best way you can so it's all neat. And then before I finish this, now I have all the stitches already kind of bind off with the seaming. So now what I'm going to do before I finish that, I'm going to remove this waste yarn here. And then remove this, flip it over again, and see if you don't have any holes here before you make the last knot. And I just put through here. Then pull it tight. That's not gonna really show. And then here you can make all the knots. This is the one from the sleeve that was actually open. And then to make it easier, I cut them all in a little shorter. And then with a little crochet hook, I put through a few stitches up and down, just like I did before on the sleeves, really, just so you guys can see the whole way what I do for the sleeves, because a lot of people have questions about the sleeves. So this is what I do. And then just hide all the other tails here. And then now let's make the bottom part of it, because I want to get rid of all this waste yarn here. Now to knit this ribbing here, what I'm going to do is first grab a very long circular knitting needle with a very long wire. Again, this one is 5.5 millimeters, even though I don't think it says that, but that's what it is. It's 5.5 millimeters, same as I used before. And then I'm going to put all the stitches through this needle this way here, with the first part of the loop to the top. Otherwise your stitches are gonna be twisted when you start making the row on the other side. So do that and come back so we can make this first row of ribbing. If you are using interchangeable needles, make sure you connect all the wires. And then once you put all the stitches through the circular needles, that's what you're gonna have. All we have to do now is just attach a new yarn in here so we can start working. Actually work this way, just work always facing the right side of your work. I'm going just to make a knot here with this one that's already there. Then we hide that after. And then here with the ribbing, if you are making a crochet ribbing, just single crochet in each stitch along the way, and then choose the best ribbing that you prefer. There's a ribbing in the pattern, there's a ribbing that I normally use, that you can use that too. I'm going to just put this stitch there on the other side, these two here, because what I want to do with these two stitches, I want to make them two together. So I'm gonna be making these two stitches, and then these ones, the thing is that because we had the match stitch here, there's two stitches they're on the back. You don't want to see them, so what I do is I just, every time I see the match stitch, I make the two stitches that are curled on the back here, I make them two together with the last of this panel and the first of the next panel. And then for this first row, I'm going to be making these two together when we meet the seaming of the panels, and also every 7 stitches, so I count 2, 4, from here 2, 4, 6, 7, and then stitch number 8, I'm going to make them two together as well, and then make 7 stitches, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 again, and then number 8, the two together. And then repeat this along the way. And also every time you reach, so here I'm going to wait to reach this middle here of the 2 panels, and then I'm only gonna decrease it there. Making the 2 together this way. Because I want the second stitch in front of the first one. And then here, just flip this over and make the 2 together as well. And then count 7 and decrease 1 more just by making the 2 together. If you are making crochet, you can do the same thing, okay? Every time you reach these panels here, what you do is you make, you single crochet 2 together just by pulling 2 loops and make a single crochet with 2 loops every time you reach this joining here of the match stitch. So that's in order to hide the stitches on the back that are on the back, and see how it looks really nice because they don't show. Found this out after a while actually. And then count 7, repeat, count 7, repeat. I'll be making 1 row, and when I come back, I'm going to be making the ribbing again. Now that I'm back to where I started, I actually added a marker, so just add the marker if you need to, but you can also see where the knot of the tail is as well, to guide yourself. I'll be making a few rows only, around 5 or 6 rows, and it's just like the cuff, so knit, and then pull, knit, and then pull. I don't really count the number of stitches just because I don't really think you have to, but you only need an even number of stitches. If I see at the end that I have 1 stitch extra and the pattern's not gonna work because of that, all I do is just make 2 stitches together and just, you know, keep going with my 1 by 1 ribbing. So just really repeat that same cuff that we made before, 1 knitted stitch and then 1 purl stitch, 1 knit, 1 purl, and just bind off exactly like we bound off before for the cuff. And then I'll come back with you to show you how to make this part here, the collar of this sweater. Now this is how our ribbing looks like after I finished it, I ended up making 10 rows, which is 5 centimeters or 2 inches, so you guys know. And the beauty about this ribbing that I like, and the crochet ribbing in the pattern is the same thing. You can keep going if you feel that the length's not right, so you can keep making until the length's right for you, okay? Now let's start making this collar ribbing here. I'm going to be making it folded, but if you don't want, if you just want a simple collar without folding it, you can make half of the rows that I'm making now. I'm going to use this short, very short wire here because it's just easier to work. Same size needle, 5.5 millimeters throughout the pattern. And I'm going to start slipping all these stitches through it. Always using the longer part on this side here to make it easier to work the ribbing after. So put them all through, and then we're going to attach the yarn at the end of this. I decided to make the same color here for the collar. But you can probably use the gray, would be nice as well, I think. And guys, also make sure you subscribe to my channel, leave me your like, and leave me your comment if you made this pattern. It's every pattern that I made is really calculated and takes a long time to make, so I really appreciate if you can leave your comment there, because it helps me on YouTube searches as well. So now I'm going to add the yarn here. I actually like to attach this here to this last one. Let's make a little knot that we are going to hide after. Now here along the sides, just choose a stitch. I like to choose always this second stitch here to work with. And I'm going to start pulling the stitches this way. If you think that a hook's better for you, you can pull up with a hook as well. Probably easier. Just put the hook through, pull it, and then put the stitch inside the hook. So do that for 3 rows and then skip 1 row. I'm making more stitches here than I normally do because I don't want this collar to be tied after. That's why I'm doing this. So skip 1 now, skip 1, and then on the very next one just pull the stitch again. 1, 2, 3, and then skip the next one. You can use any size crochet hook to do that, it doesn't really matter. And then 1 more here. And then now we're gonna make something different. Because I want to keep working with this yarn tail that I already have now. What we have to do is knit these stitches throughout the back. That's not going to make any difference on the design. It's just going to allow us to keep working with the yarn. So pull up the stitches, and then with the help of a crochet hook as well, I want to make this stitch in front of this, and because that's the one that's curling inside, just like we had on the bottom, I want to make them two together, okay? So pull through the 2 of them and put in the hook, and then keep repeating this work. Make sure the stitch is not twisted when you make it. That's a very simple way to keep using the same yarn tail and not having to attach another yarn tail. So I'm going to do that around this part here, and then when I get here, I'm going to have the same number of stitches that I had along here, okay? So do that now, and then I'll come back with you with the first row for this collar ribbing here. Now place a marker on the beginning of the row after you put all the stitches. Just so you know, I have 68 stitches. You need an even number of stitches to make the ribbing. Now I'm going to make a full row of just knitted stitches just to even it up. And then I'm going to make the same ribbing that I did here, working on the round, always on the right side, knit one, purl one. I'm going to finish this ribbing and then I'll come back with you. So this is how our ribbing on the top looks like for the collar. Just one quick thing, I'm already binding off here. The bind off is exactly the same as we did for the cuffs. Just one quick thing here is because we are going to fold it and then seam on the inside here, make sure you leave the stitches a little loose as well, otherwise you're gonna have a ribbing that's too tight and might not fit the head through, okay? So this loop here has to be a little more open than you normally would do a stitch, just so it's not the end result's not too tight, okay? Now after you finish all the 14 rows I made, that's how it's going to look like. You can make a turtleneck if you want, just by making more rows and making it longer. And as you can see here, it's very stretched, so it's not gonna be tied when we fold this in and seam through the inside. And now just cut a longer tail so you can use for seaming. Let's finish this last stitch here, because it's gonna be on the inside. You don't have to worry much about the look of it, because it's gonna be hidden. It's like this, pull the whole thing, and then just fold this in little by little, and then choose a row here. I'm going to choose this row where the stitches look a little bigger, so it's easier to spot them as well. Go from the knitting, just fold straight over to the purl here, because the knitting is a purl on the back, and then put through one by one this way. Just like this. And then just repeat all around. I'll come back with you to show you the end result. So guys, this is how our collar is looking like at the end. It's really nice, and I did use the seaming on the back to close a few gaps on the way. So all you do is just close it like this with a little stitch while you're seaming the back part of your collar. And as you can see, it's stretchy enough to fit a man's head, which is great, because we made that last row very, very stretched. And so I just wanted to quickly show you the size of it. So it is around 24 inches long, or 61, 62 centimeters, exactly like I wanted. Sideways around 56 centimeters, or around 22, 21 and a half inches. But this stretches a lot, so it's really nice and soft. One thing that I do recommend, if you don't want this seaming in the middle so visible, you can't really tell, but if you don't want this as visible as it is here, just try to choose darker colors, because the darker colors, they hide the seaming much better than the lighter colors. I do like the colors that I chose for men. Thank you all for watching this. This is a tutorial that some people were asking me for a very long time, so I hope you enjoy it. Leave me your comment if you're making it, and I would really love to see if you share this in our Facebook group with the pattern link as well. That always helps my business, and it helps me making more free patterns for you guys. So thank you very much for watching, and I hope you guys enjoy your weekend. Bye!